What's going on, everybody? Vince Goodrum here. It is Friday afternoon. Reason I'm making this video is, just a response as far as to Nick Trigilli's video that he made attacking Bob Cicherillo, and just giving you an update as far as to what I think about Bob Cicherillo's response. In case you guys don't know the background, and I'll make this quick, and I'm not going to put up any videos and waste you guys' time, especially with the spat between two people, is that Bob Cicherillo went on a show and explained the weaknesses of Dennis James. Just a friendly conversation. Dennis James and Bob are friends and stuff like that. As far as to what Big Ramy needed to improve on. Dennis James stated that, they should have given Big Ramy a look and everything like that. This wasn't much of a conversation as much. It was no big deal or anything like that. But somehow Nick Trigilli decided to make it a big deal and puts in the title, "You won't believe what Bob Cicherillo said about Big Ramy, and stuff." And just went on and on calling Chick Bob a piece of shit and an asshole and narcissistic and stuff like that. And Bob actually responded, which I don't think Nick Trigilli really expected him to respond so hard. So I'm going to make a couple of talking points as far as what Bob said. Now, Bob, first and foremost, basically broke down as far as the conversation that him and Dennis James are friends, and not to go and make a big deal out of the whole situation. Also, he made a point as far as to an editor, and stuff. And an editor put up the wrong pictures, but again, he had the right pictures on Instagram, No big freaking deal. It wasn't even the point of the whole conversation to begin with. In other words, the pictures really didn't matter, which is what Bob said. Bob is right about that. The pictures really didn't matter as far as the case is concerned, and later on they put up the real actual pictures that Bob put on Instagram. Now, Bob's almost 60 years old, he has an editor, The great one doesn't have an editor. I could probably use an editor. Doesn't make a difference. Bob chooses to have an editor. That's perfectly fine, Uh, and he also, of course, pointed out your, error itself, it's just one of those things like people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. You did misspell yours, despite the fact I'm not sure if you edit your own stuff. I never asked you that or anything. Whether you edit your own content, whether you make your own thumbnails or anything like that. But he pretty much called out the same thing that you called him out as far as that's concerned. And the fact that you went and said that you know the editor and stuff like that of Bob Cicherillo when you don't know the editor at all, that was a load of hogwash. I don't know why you included it for. It doesn't make a difference here, and stuff. Now, Nick, we've worked out our differences and everything, but at the same time, I've given you, indications as far as to how you need to clean up your content there. And I've said that time and time again there. Not only that, which is going to bring up my other point, Bob Cicherillo said that he was working in the industry while you were doing Gay4Pay stuff there, on Pornhub and everything like that. And that's another thing. It doesn't matter how long does time still pass there, okay? People don't forget about anything. No one forgets about my 2004 competition at the at the Metrolina. Nobody ever is gonna forget about how Derek Anthony spit on me at the 2007 Arnold Classic. No one's ever gonna forget that. Once something happens in the industry, it's part of time. It's always part of history. You're never going to let go of it. I'm not going to go into the private conversation that we went in because I'm going to show you some respect as far as what we discussed there. But that is always going to come up no matter what, okay? It's always going to come up, all right? Now, as far as you calling out his channel saying that he just got back up there, no, he didn't. again, Bob has been in the industry for over 40 years. He's been competing since the early 80s. When I say 80s, I'm talking about 1980, you know. And again, that goes back to the weight itself. He said that Big Ramy needed to come in at 270 something, okay? Something, not zero. You called out 270 there, you know? Seriously, come on, man. What Bob was trying to make a point of is that Big Ramy needs to come in lighter, you know? And he did need to come in lighter, you know? Plain and simple there. He wasn't guesstimating his weight or anything like that. So if he weighed 300 pounds, come in at 290. Weighs 290, come in at 280. That's the only point there. He took a guess of 270 something, you know. When someone says something next to a number, that means that's automatically telling you that he's not sure what his weight is there. But again, all of this stuff you're making a big deal out of there, you know. And of course, the biggest thing of all, and this is something that, you know, I've also explained to you as well. Bob's been at these shows. He's been working at these shows. He's been announcing at these shows. He's not too far away from the athletes here. You know, he can get a good view as far as to who's in condition and who isn't. He's a good judge of person there. Why? Because he's been in the industry for over 40 years, you know. He was competing before you were born, you know. So, I mean, if anyone can be a judge of physiques, it would be Bob Cicherillo here, okay? It'd be Bob, period. So, again, Nick, I think you do all this in order to promote your channel and stuff like that. This is not the way to do this, okay? I know that this is your source of income, which also brings me up one thing. Stop going and referencing the number of subscribers you have next to Bob Cicherillo's, like he got back around on YouTube. It doesn't matter, you know. There was a time in the bodybuilding industry when YouTube wasn't around. I didn't make my money off YouTube. I made my money off of ebooks here, you know, Will Brink's ebooks, to be more specific, as well as my ebooks, as well as doing e-commerce and writing articles and stuff like that. There was a time before any of this social media happened there, you know. And Bob can account for it. There was time before computers here, you know. There was at least over 15 years before even computers actually made somewhat of an appearance on the bodybuilding stage, you know. And, you know, so Nick, you're not going to win against Bob Cicherillo, okay? You're just not going to win. He's got way more contests, way more experience than you behind the belt there, and he's actually won a pro show, you know. That brings me to the very last thing, Nick, and I've already told you this a million times. Stop referring to yourself as the fucking 2014 Mr. USA, okay? You are not the 2014 Mr. USA. You want to know why? Because the rights to call yourself a Mr. USA is owned by the AAU, okay? And the AAU did not have a Mr. USA in 2014, okay? Now, you won the super heavyweight division at the NPC USA champion. So you can call yourself the 2014 super heavyweight NPC USA champion. You can call yourself the 2014 USA champion. You can call you that. But you cannot call yourself a Mr. USA, period. Okay? And I'm going to make this strict point there because the AAU is very strict as far as enforcing their trademarks. There was a guy a while back in the PDA, Jack London. He called himself Mr. USA. And you know what? They pounded his cheeks there, you know. There's been a number of people that have called themselves Mr. USAs and they haven't there. And the AAU has pounded their cheeks here. Now, if you needed some instructions as far as to the rules and regulations and policies of the AAU, perhaps you should ask the 1981 Mr. AAU Mr. New York State overall champion. Who is that? Well, I'll let you look that up. But in any event, that's all I got to say for right now. Like and subscribe to the Vince Goodrum channel. Click the link below. Don't forget the midnight run is at 10 o'clock p.m. And as always, peace and soul.